All right, it's 7 o'clock. If you want to take your seats, we'll get started with our mayor candidates here, our forum for tonight. We have 2 council seats open in the city of mayor. It's a 4-year term. We have 4 candidates running for those 2 seats. ERICK BODER, KRISTA GOEDEL, is that right? GOEDEL, and NIKKI MCNEILLY and Ken Olson are your candidates for city council. Again, those are 2 open seats, 4 candidates running, and that's a 4-year term, a 4-year commitment that they are making. The mayor position is a 2-year term. We have 2 candidates. We have Dan LUETH running and GERRY Thomas running. A few housekeeping things. We want to let you know that we're having another candidate forum coming up next Tuesday, the 28th. Kind of the same format that we had tonight. We'll start at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock with a meet and greet. And then we'll have candidates for sheriff, Jim Olson, the incumbent, running against the challenger, Derek Lee. And then we will have the commissioners also running. That's the incumbent, Tim Lynch, running against the challenger, Frank Long. So we want to invite you next Tuesday, the 28th, same place, 6 o'clock, same format. Get your questions ready. If you want to grab some of the cards tonight and take home with you, so you've got the weekend then to get those all written up and brought in, I'm sure we'll have a good debate between those candidates. We want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their busy day and coming tonight to our candidate forum. And I'm going to go through the rules. Everybody here had an opportunity to get a copy of the rules of how this forum is going to go. But for our listening audience that's not here in attendance, I want to go through those rules, and we'll start with that first. Each candidate will be given up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves and make opening statements. Following that, an answer and question period will follow, where I will pose some prepared questions from the audience to each candidate. Screened questions written on index cards will be accepted from the audience, and Luann can pick those up at any time. I will have the discretion to change, modify any of the questions to maintain time limits. I also look at questions if they're repetitive, and we will not continue to do the same question over and over again. Candidates will have 1 minute as a time limit placed on each answer to answer the question that's directed towards them. Some questions will be asked of all candidates, so each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. We'll try to limit this to 2 hours. However, and candidates may address questions or issues in their respective closing statements, because you will have a 3-minute closing statement. So a 3-minute introductory statement, kind of introducing who you are, why you're running as a candidate, and then if there's some questions that you didn't feel you had a chance to answer in the question session, you can maybe put that in your closing comments. Everybody understand the rules and the procedures for tonight's candidate forum? All right, with that, we'll start on the end. Dan LUETH is running for mayor, and so Dan, if you give me 1 second, you have 3 minutes. Yeah, there's my salt, yep. You have 3 minutes for an introductory introduction.
Okay, my name is Dan LUETH. I've been a resident of mayor for, I think, about 9 years now. Seems like more like 9 weeks the way they've gone by. So, live in Hidden Creek on the south end of town with my wife Sarah. Got 2 daughters, one's 2 and 3, and we found out recently we thought we were having the 3rd kid, and I guess we're having kid number 3 and number 4, so I have twins on the way. Grew up in the area here, and I've always been kind of interested and active in politics, and just kind of on a whim I ran for city council 4 years ago, and evidently convinced enough people that they liked what I said, so they voted me in and thought I'd take the next step here and run for mayor.
Is that it?
That's it. I'm short and
yep.
sweet. And
you had 1 more minute. GERRY Thomas, you're next. 3 minutes, opening statement.
Good evening. I'm GERRY Thomas. I have lived in mayor since 1970, 40 plus years. I've been here before. I've served as a mayor for 12 years, 1994 to 2006, something like that. I've been a business owner and mayor for 40-plus years as well. We had our own business, still have our own business. I've obviously liked the quality of life here because we're still living here after 40-some years. We find this to be a nice place to live. We have 2 kids that grew up here. And I've always been interested in city government. I enjoyed working the first time around as a mayor. Went through a lot of change those first 12 years, tremendous amount of change, and just thought I'd like to get back into it and see what's going on again. I need to be involved. I like being busy.
30 seconds. You got it?
Well, I guess somebody asked me why I was running. I guess somebody gave me an answer. They said, I could say, why not? Just something I like being involved. I've got the time to do it now, and I think I'd like to give it another shot.
Thank you very much. ERICK BODER, 3 minutes, opening statement.
Hi there, my name's ERICK BODER. We've lived in Mare for roughly the last 10 years with my wife Jennifer and our 2 little monsters that were running around here somewhere, daughter Emily and my son Nate. Been, like I said, here in the city for about 10 years. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice leadership, and law enforcement organizational management. I am running for re-election to my city council seat, or your city council seat. Hopefully you'll put me back in there. And the reason that I'm running was, like Dan, I've always been interested in politics, and I'm one of those people that, on a whim, it kind of said, hey, let's go ahead and get in there. If you're gonna, don't sit and complain, try to do something. Thank you.
All right, KRISTA?
KRISTA
3 minutes, opening statement.
My name is KRISTA GOEDEL. I also have been in Mare since about 2005, bought my first house in Coldwater, lived there with my husband Josh, who is here, and my dog Daphne, who is not here because you would hear her also. A lifelong Carver County resident, went to school at Mankato, have a bachelor's degree in public health and technical writing. So a lot of the writings that will come out, I will review for Luann. She likes to send corrections my way. Work currently for Beckman Coulter, which is an immunoassay molecular diagnostic company, which normally means nothing to people. Work in the clinical research area. Previously employed at Ridgeview Medical Center. My experience is I've been on the park board and planning board for the past 7 years for the city. Also, I'm on the Mare Rising Community Festival as a secretary. Scott loves my minutes. Little action to-do lists. Also been volunteering for the Mare Rising Community Festival. Have previously been on the Chaska Area Chamber of Commerce board and attended a leadership course there. And in my spare time, when there is some of it, like going biking, driving around in our car, which we've named Betty. Ice cream, so if any of you are on any meetings, I talk about ice cream a lot, and antiquing.
All right, NIKKI, 3 minutes, opening statement.
Hi, I'm NIKKI McNeely, and I've lived here for 10 years, bought my first home on Ridge Road. I have my husband, Nate, and my 2 children, Caitlin, who's 7, and Gavin, who is 3. I currently work in Bloomington at a small rep firm, and we sell different product to Best Buy and Target, and I work on the Target team. I wanted to run for city council because I like to be involved. I like to know what's going on. When I did move here, one of the reasons I did choose mayor was because I liked the small town. One negative I didn't like was that property taxes were really high compared to neighboring communities. And I wasn't quite sure why. So I had reached out to the city asking some of those questions. And so I'm just here to make sure that, you know, we're maintaining some of those things. So I'm excited to be able to share some of that knowledge that I have also for helping my husband run a small business as well.
Perfect. Ken Olson, 3 minutes, introduction.
Who am I? Why am I here? That's a little piece of trivia from the presidential debate a long time ago. Anyway, I am I've been a resident of Mayer since 2001 when my oldest daughter, Kirsten, we moved here in the middle of her first grade year. She's now a junior in college. I also have another daughter named Annika who is in 7th grade at Zion Lutheran School here in Mayer. My educational background is I have an associate's degree in accounting from Inver Hills Community College. I have 6 years of experience on the Zion School Board Ministry. I have been on the Financial Review Committee since 2009 for Zion. I am also active in 4-H. I am a youth instructor, shooting sports coach. And I got into that because my daughter Kirsten was in shooting sports since 3rd grade, and she wound up becoming a youth instructor at in 4-H when she was in high school. So I'm just now I have Annika doing the same thing. So instead of just sitting around like all the parents, I decided I should become active and volunteer and be a coach. So I did that about 3 years ago.
1 minute if you need it.
No. Other than that, what else have I done here? That's about it.
Okay, great, thank you. I do have individual questions for each of you that have been presented by the audience, and I can start with those first, and then we have a bunch of questions that really cover everybody that's running for positions that covers everything that goes on in the city of Mayor. So I will just randomly pick a question from the audience. A reminder, audience, if you want to fill out a card and ask a question of our candidates, go ahead. Luann is there. We have pens and paper available to you. The first question that I have is to Nikki. Nikki, how do you plan to provide high-quality parks and trails and tax cuts all at the same time? Where do you think the city can make cuts to make that happen? You have 1 minute to respond to the question.
All right. First of all, that's a great question. You know, it is really hard to find a balance between providing quality parks and trails and at the same time making sure you're within budget. I mean, we have to look at the entire picture. You can't just take one thing and raise it. I mean, there has to be pluses and minuses across the board to make things happen, and you have to look at what is really needed in the city and what's a want and what's a need. It's important to have those things because we are a bedroom community, so we want to make sure that we get people to stay more here on the weekends and in the evenings, and maybe even during the day trying to find more things. So.
Great. Thank you. Eric. Eric, explain how you would improve city services, facilities, and parks. What have you done to improve parks since your election to the city council?
Well, I think Nikki hit it on the head. It's a matter of, it's about balance. And my family, a lot like other families here, have to balance where we're spending our money. I think that there's some core services that the city needs to be working on. One of them would be infrastructure. One other one is public safety. It's a matter of balancing that. My top priorities are core city services. We're talking about snow plowing. We're talking about hopefully lowering the cost of utilities if we can, being the water and sewer. And the park budget is, I don't want to say fat, but they are fully funded. I think it's a matter of getting on top of the infrastructure we have, making sure it's being taken care of, and the upkeep is there. I don't necessarily believe that we need to add to the city, but we need to continue to develop what's here and improve the infrastructure that's already there.
Great, thank you. Jerry Thomas, do you feel that your personal ties to LHS, Zion, the fire department, and other business affiliations will affect your ability to remain unbiased? And what is your plan when council has to make decisions that may affect your relationship with them?
Okay. I guess the best quick answer I can do is look back when I was mayor the first 12 years. Anytime anything came up regarding LHS or Zion, I abstained from any kind of vote on such a matter. I was very careful to make sure that my relationship with those organizations did not influence or did not sway a vote. I could speak to an issue, I will speak to an issue, but if it's something that LHS is involved in, I will abstain from that vote. And so I'm not intimately involved with Zion right now as far as any kind of board or anything like that. So They would be if there's another entity.
How about the fire department?
Fire department, I have a love for the fire department. I spent 20 years on it. Fire department provides a valuable service, and I guess there again, I would not abstain from a vote because I'm not on the fire department anyhow right now. There will be no need for me to abstain, but I can be as honest and as transparent as possible with it. I try and look at things from all sides and try and make a properly balanced decision.
Great. Dan, this is questions for you. Why didn't you respond to the Herald Journal's request for information?
Short answer is, from when I got it, I work as an insurance adjuster, and we are doing rotations due to the largest hail events in the history of the company I work for, and I was out of state doing 16, 18-hour days working for the family to the deadline, and just to be blunt, I just didn't have time.
Okay. Ken, what is a property rights libertarian? A property rights libertarian. And then there's a follow-up. Would it be okay with you if your neighbor fenced in their yard and decided to raise pigs? So the first question is, it's kind of a two-parter. What is a property rights libertarian? That would be the first question. You have 1 minute.
Property rights libertarian is a person who first and foremost believes in the rights of the property owner above the wishes of any city ordinance or any ordinance that would get in the way of him doing whatever he or she pleases with their property.
Okay. And then if you want to answer the second part of the question, would you be okay if somebody fenced in their yard and had animals in that yard?
Well, we already do have animals in the yard. We have outside dog kennels.
Specifically to the question, it was pigs.
There's pigs.
Yep.
Pigs. Pigs are more of a livestock animal than a chicken. Many cities have ordinances allowing chicken with no going to neighbors to ask permission for, chickens or even a dog kennel. A pig on the other is another matter entirely, and that belongs more out in a farm setting.
Okay. The next question is for the mayoral candidates. So we'll start with Jerry Thomas this time, and then Dan, if you would take the question or the answer next to the question. Jerry Thomas, what would your #1 priority be that you would take on if you are elected mayor of Mayor?
Number 1 priority, I said it before, quality of life. I think we've got an excellent quality of life. I think let's maintain and improve on that and what Mayor now has and what it can offer in the future. The sustainability and sustain that quality of life. And I think as Eric and Nikki referred to, it's a balance. I was on this for 12 years, and the councils I worked with, we worked very, very, very hard to keep taxes as low as possible. Costs keep going up. You need to deal with that. You need to see cut where you can. But I think we've got an excellent quality of life, and I want to see that continue. Like I said, I didn't live here for 40-some years just because just because it's here. I like being here. It's convenient to the cities, convenient to shopping, convenient to lots of other services, and I want to see that continue.
Thank you. Dan?
I think the #1 priority as mayor would actually be to largely maintain the progress that the prior and current city councils have gone with, that we're fiscally responsible, but yet making sure that we allow the town to grow. We got the roundabout project coming up, looking at some park projects that there's been some talk with restrooms, things like that. So trying to balance fiscal responsibility with things that allow the city to grow and look forward to the future generations of making maintaining the great town that this is.
Great, thank you, Dan. This is a question for everybody, and I think it's a pretty good question for everybody. And we'll start with Ken first and work our way down, okay? Do you feel that you are able to commit to attending all council meetings and mayor meetings and serve on those additional boards or committees? So do you have the time and the commitment to serve? Ken, you have 1 minute to respond to the question.
I do. I have no commitments generally on Mondays. I generally try to keep my Mondays open for a couple of other things that I do on Mondays, but it's not a problem. They're not going to be a problem for me.
Nikki, same question. Do you have the time for the commitment?
Yes, I do. I do have small children, but my work, I work 8 to 4:30. I don't usually work in the evenings. If I do, it's after my kids go to bed. But I do enjoy my adult time when I'm not a mom, so I do look forward to some of those other activities to grow myself as a person, because I feel to be a strong mother, I need to nurture myself. And doing activities like this and being part of a greater thing is important. So yes, I do have time. I don't like missing things, and you always have babysitters.
KRISTA, same question.
Yes, I am willing and able to commit to the meetings. I do attend a number of them now. Some months I attend up to 6 meetings. I have a very good track record of attending those. Based on my work schedule, I do schedule flights out of town. I do work around those, and I have arranged with work to be able to attend the meetings.
ERICK, BODER, do you feel that you are able to commit to attending all the council meetings and also serve on additional committees?
Absolutely. I'm a council member right now, and I do serve on the EDA board. I work in law enforcement, and sometimes we do get called on SWAT calls, or we get called late, but I'm able to handle that. My Mondays are busy between being on the mayor fire department and city council, but no, let's make every effort to be here.
Thank you. Jerry, same question.
I wouldn't have filed had I not been confident I could attend the meetings. If you look back on the 12 years that I was mayor, I missed meetings on a very, very rare occasion. I feel it's important that you attend the meetings, and I'm not one that goes on a committee doing it half-heartedly. I'm going to be here or not here, and I'm planning to be here. I even attend faculty meetings. I'm only a part-time teacher, but I attend faculty meetings, including tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, so it's way too early.
Dan, same question.
I'm going to agree with him. 7 meetings are way too early. So, I think my record last 4 years says a lot. The word all in there, I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to be able to make all the meetings. I have to make a living. If I'm out of town for work, I'm going to have to be out of town for work. That's why we have 5 members. We can still vote with a quorum. The last 4 years, I would say I averaged maybe missing 2 meetings a year. 1 year might have been 3, 1, something like that, but I think my record, my attendance has been exemplary on it. There's been some times where I've been out for work, or I think a couple times on vacations. However, vacations I try to schedule so you're not missing those meetings, because it is a commitment. And if I'm elected, I'm going to work to fulfill that commitment.
Great, thanks, Dan. This question is for everybody, mayoral and also council. And we'll start with Dan. Dan, what are your thoughts for a swimming pool in Mayer, Minnesota?
I am really torn on a swimming pool, to be honest. I can't swim personally, so me personally, it doesn't benefit me. However, I have 2 kids and 2 on the way that would love to be in the water. When I talk to people around town, that's the one thing everybody wants. However, when I hear everybody wants it, I'm not sure everybody wants to do the work involved or pay for it. A lot of people are saying they would have let their taxes go up for it, but I think that's one of those things that a committee would need to get together, research exactly what we would want. Is it a splash pad? Would it be a sand bottom? Would it be a diving pool? And then get some locations, get some costs, and then once we have better information, we can go back and then get some feedback from the community on it.
Jerry Thomas, same question.
I'll agree with Dan. I need to have a whole lot more information before I make a decision on that. I need to see an awful lot of analysis done, a lot of cost figures, and some surveys and so forth. So it takes a whole lot more information than I will say yes or nay to right now.
Okay, Eric?
Well, I'm kind of split on that as well. I think one of the problems with our government these days is we don't do what our people want us to do. I think the last few quality of life reports from to the park board have shown that pools are actually pretty hot. That being said, pools are expensive, and I don't know if we could support this in this economic climate, at least, just for the fact that it's going to raise taxes significantly, and there's a lot more to it than just the building. It's the upkeep, it's the insurance. Anybody you talk to, they understand that pools are loss leaders. It would take a lot more information. If it went to a referendum and it passed, I would support that, but it has to be supported by the community for me to support that on any type of large project like that.
Krista, what are your thoughts about a swimming pool in Mayer, Minnesota?
I agree with a lot of what the other people said. Being on the park board, we look at this almost yearly of having a pool come in. We've looked at sand bottom. We're starting to explore splash pads, looked at pricing, how much it costs to build it, how much fundraising would be necessary, how much it would raise taxes. At this time, I think there's other things the city needs to spend money on.
Nikki, same question.
I've been to a couple council meetings now, hearing more about this. My husband's actually from Mora, and they have a pool, and it's losing money. It's a great place to go, but it's just not, and they're a bigger town than we are. So I agree with Krista when she says, I just think that there's other things, and I think that if the community wanted it, I would be supportive of that, because that's who I would work for. But it would everybody have to understand the ramifications and the costs of doing a swimming pool.
Thank you. Ken, Olson?
Only if the revenues can come close to the expenses. I would be in favor for it. If it was a drain on our tax dollars, I wouldn't be for it at all.
Okay. New question. We'll start in the middle with Eric. What are your thoughts about the set town cop schedule?
Well, that's a tough question for me to answer. I obviously do work for the sheriff's office, and I can't speak for the sheriff. But I had the opportunity and the pleasure to serve for the city of Victoria for many years as their town cop. I think that it's a very good model. It's a model that provides service to the city of Mayer at a very reasonable price compared to what it would cost if we had our own police department. I think that with that town cop, you're able to have that one person that we go to all the time. If we have a problem or a concern, we go to Jake. The city goes to Jake, and Jake will take care of that for us. That town cop gets to know the patterns of the city. They get to know who the people are. I think it's a very sound model. And I think it's, like I said, it's very cost effective. I would not recommend any other way at this point.
Krista, same question.
I think it's good that we do have a city cop. I think with any position, you need to be flexible. We're lucky living in Mayer that we don't have a high crime rate. But we need to remember that if something would occur, he and the city needs to be flexible with hours.
Jerry Thomas.
I like the way it works because you've got a face to put with, or you got a face to talk to somebody to bring concerns to. And I liked it when I worked, we had toward the end of my first terms there. We did discuss it at length at one point as far as putting our own police force into existence. That was way out of line. Nobody could afford it. This is much more cost effective and much better for the city as a whole.
Nikki McNeely.
I agree with the model. I think it's great to share services, so then you're not taking that financial burden on yourself. I do think that the hours need to be more flexible on what Krista was saying. Like I stated before, everybody leaves the town a lot of times to go to a place of work. So if the cop is only here during the day, I would never see them.
Dan Luth.
I have a background, a 2-year degree in law enforcement, and over 12 years experience as a part-time police officer, so I got a little bit of knowledge in the thing. And one of the very first things in the intro classes of law enforcement is random patrol. I think in light of that, random patrol is better than the fixed hours we have. That if there's some way to flex that around, I think there's potential for some larger problems to come into the town. We're lucky, it's a safe, quiet bedroom community, but there's a lot of kids growing up. Some of those, a small percentage, are gonna cause some problems. We need to be proactive in getting ahead of that. Having said that, I do like the town cop model where we have one cop that gets to know the people, can get to know the good and the bad and respond to that, and it also is very fiscally responsible for the city. But just because something's fiscally responsible doesn't always mean the best value for your money. I would love to have a more dialogue with the sheriff's firm to look at some alternatives to maybe maintain the town cop, but maybe contract an hour per night with an area car or something like that where they'd be dedicated in town, or have more flexibility in the town cop scheduling versus the Monday through Friday day hours. I just don't feel we're getting value for our money currently based on hours.
Ken Olson.
I would prefer to see more flexibility in the town cop's hours than what's currently there. A lot of things happen in the middle of the night, and if you have a presence that are patrolling on a random basis, I think that would do something to deter the random, rare things that can happen, you know, in 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. This next question is for everybody again. Do you feel the fire department budget is high, low, or just right? Nikki McNeely?
You know, I haven't looked at the numbers, so I can't really say if it's high, low. You know, I have nothing to compare it to. So I really don't have much to say on that topic, just since I don't really have any knowledge. I'd have to, again, it's city council, you go back and do your research to answer questions like that.
Eric BODER, same question.
One of the things that I've been working towards in my 4 years here on the city council has been clarity in everybody's budget. I think that one of the things that I would like to continue to work on in my next 4 years is to continue on that clarity. I think that sometimes we, and a lot of probably more places than just us, get into what I hate to call slush fund budgeting, but slush fund type budgeting where we're looking at buying certain things and maybe not knowing we're not going to use that and slide that money back into the general budget. That's something I don't like to see. I like to see budget more towards how we budget our houses. We know how much money we need every month and how much money we have to spend. I don't like putting fluff in there. I want everything to be clear. We have clarity in the budget. If the fire chief says he needs 10 pair of boots, we'll give you the money for 10 pair of boots. But don't ask for 25 pair of boots knowing that you only need 5. And I'm not saying that that happens, but I get a feeling that in some of our budgets that happens. And clarity is something that I want to continue to work on.
Okay. Ken Olson, same question. Do you feel the fire department budget is high, low, or just right?
I don't have, I would need to compare the fire department budget with cities of similar size to determine an answer to that question.
Okay. Dan Luth, question, same question. Is the budget high, low, or just right for the fire department?
I would say at this point in time, just right. I think fellow council members in the last few years have gone through the budget, and we've basically cut most all the fluff out of it due to the tight economic times. The fire department is one of those core services that needs to be adequately funded. You don't want the fire department showing up and not able to get to your house when you're having a heart attack or something like that. So they need that. They need some good equipment in order to do their job and to stay safe. However, that is something that there are fire departments out there that try to get stuff because, well, somebody else got a truck or somebody else has this or that. You really need to look, is this a need versus a want? Make sure it really is a need. But I think we've done a good job on that. We're replacing the one truck now based on it being 30 years old and needing to be replaced for safety reasons due to new technology, things like that. That was something that increased the budget, but again, it was something that was needed. So,
Great.
I got a little time? Or?
You got about another 5 seconds.
Another 5 seconds. One thing I really want to make sure in the fire department is we look towards the future. You keep hearing about challenges in recruiting volunteer firemen and things like that, that look at sharing services, things like that in the future, and start exploring that now.
KRISTA Goodell.
I don't know what the actual fire department budget is, but I think that as any part of the budget, they need to be accurate on what they're forecasting and be able to forecast into the future of what they're going to need.
Jerry Thomas, same question. High, low, or just right?
I'm quite sure it's just right, because having been gone through the budgeting process many times, I'm sure the past councils the last couple of years have gone through that process with a fine-tooth comb and have cut down where they needed to or have added where they needed to make things come out right. I don't think it'd be anything other than that, because like I said, I've been through that process. I know the work that goes into it to get it to a point that's workable. So I think it'd be fine. I think it needs to be a lot of transparency. I think you need to make sure everything is accounted for and that the needs are real needs and not just wants and wishes.
Perfect. It's kind of an interesting one for all of you. What would you like to achieve during your term in office? Dan LUETH, we'll start with you first. What would you like to achieve in your term in office?
Wide open question.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
One that
That's
doesn't
right.
give me any time to think of my answer. So. I think is what a couple of things I would like to achieve a successful completion of the roundabout project. That's going to be a big thing that's going to be going on in this town the next couple of years here, so basically next year, to make sure that that gets done successfully within budget, things like that. Other things I'd like to achieve is continue to improve the parks. We got lots of kids in this town. If you don't believe it, just look at the streets in my neighborhood and most evenings in the summer. So give good parks for those kids to go play in, have activities to do. Like to achieve some sort of facility in a park where kids can have, or families can gather, like a pavilion, something like that to improve the parks. And I'd like to continue to be fiscally responsible. I think we've done a good job on maintaining our services, but also not wasting any money and keeping the budget in line. We've gone through it, and anybody can get a copy of it, take a look at it. There's not really much waste in there anywhere. So to maintain that for 2 years.
Okay. Ken Olson, what would you like to achieve during your term in office?
Well, the one thing that I would like to see as far as the parks are concerned is I would like to see an archery range. I'm really big into shooting sports, and I can shoot in my backyard. I set up hay bales when Kirsten and I were shooting in 4-H behind my house, and but if you have another house backed up to it, it's not very safe. So I would like to see 2 or 3 lane archery park to have the young people or sportsmen like me or archery shooters like me be able to shoot that don't have the opportunity. The other thing I'd like to do is achieve is I would actually like to see the city budget being cut in a few places. The city budget has actually gone up 25% in the last 2 years. And I don't see a lot of people in this town that got a 25% raise over 2 years, not as far as I'm concerned. So I'd really like to take a hard look at where all that money was going and why it was needed.
Okay. Nikki McNeely, same question. What would you like to achieve during your term in office?
You know, I really don't have an agenda or something that I really am passionate about that I really need to have changed. I mean, my goal is to listen, to the residents, to the families, what is needed, what is wanted, and really take that into account. And maintain. I mean, our home values are going up, which is a positive, but that also means that our property taxes go up. So how do you maintain that? We're going back to when I purchased my home 10 years ago, where the property taxes are super high for the value of my home, but now we're coming back up, which is a positive, but then you also have more property taxes. So it's mainly just to kind of maintain. I mean, I choose to live here, and decisions that I'm making are affecting my own pocketbook as well. So I feel that just being a voice.
Jerry Thomas, what would you like to achieve in your term?
I could duplicate Nikki because I filed without an agenda. I filed simply because I wanted to be involved again, wanted to know what's going on, and I rather do enjoy city government. If I think about it, I guess I'm more concerned about being very sound, responsible stewardship of our resources, of our people, of the community, and the financial things that we have going for us. So it's going to take it just takes some work to get things going that might bring some more jobs into town or might bring some more business into town. I say might. These are all hard things to do. They're not easy things to do. There's a lot of hoops to jump through once in a while. But even talking before the meeting tonight, I picked up a few things that maybe we can do. So, like I said, I have no agenda. I basically like being involved.
KRISTA Goodell, same question.
I would like to see better communication within the city and to residents and businesses. We all communicate differently. We used to have a city newsletter. Some read it, some didn't. Some read the electronic sign when they're driving by, some don't. But making sure people get the communication that they need to be able to, whether promoting a new business in town or knowing when the Mayor Rising Community Festival is. So whether that be potentially updating the city webpage to make it more user-friendly, adding a Facebook page, getting email addresses and doing web blasts are different examples of way to get better communication out to residents and businesses.
ERICK?
It's hard to pick one thing. You know, it's when you live in a community like Mare where we're safe. Our taxes are a little on the high side, but you know what we have? We live in a good place. So I can't just come out and say, this is why I'm running. I'm running to maintain, to continue to support the city, support our city administrator. Luann absolutely has the heart of the city in mind in everything she does. A lot of the moving forward that we've done is because of her. I think we need to, as a council, support her. We need to support growth in not only business, but to bring people to live in town. And then mainly focus on clarity of government is big for me, responsive government, and then start to focus on some of those core services. Snow plowing has always been a big thing for us, and we're working on things like that. Just to continue that momentum, continue to make the city of Mare a great place to live.
Perfect. I'm going to change this one a little bit. It says all the candidates, but I think are the candidates is what it should be. But here's the question. It's for all of you. Are the candidates up to date with current city issues and aware that Fieldstone Association Board has requested that the city replace boulevard trees? There's kind of a follow-up to that too. Would you vote yes, that the city should replace the trees, or vote no, that the city should not replace the trees? So it's kind of, the general part of the question is, are the candidates up to date with the current city issues, and that may be one question in itself, and aware that Fieldstone Association Board has requested the city to replace the boulevard trees, and then yes or no, would you vote yes or no to do that? We'll start with Ken this time on the end. Ken Olson? So you're up to date with the current...
I am aware of that request.
Okay.
That they made, but when you say the Fieldstone Association, is it a true association with common areas like a townhouse association would be, or is this actually on city property? Because if the Fieldstone Association has common areas, then we have no business replacing trees on boulevards, because I think it would be their responsibility. I lived in a townhouse association for 12 years. We replaced our own we replaced our own trees and did our own landscaping, even though it was between the street and the sidewalk. So I don't think we have any business doing that.
Okay. Dan Luth, are you up to date with the current city issues and aware that Fieldstone Association Board has requested the city to replace the boulevard trees? Would you vote yes or no?
Well, currently being on the council, obviously I'm up to date on it. I was at the council meeting where this came up, so. Our city administrator has done a great job doing some research on this and whatnot, and basically the boulevard trees, one of those trees, the city has landscaping requirements, and those trees are placed on the boulevard in there as one of their landscaping trees. So therefore, it's essentially that homeowner's tree that was placed there as part of the building of that home. I feel that tree is the responsibility of the homeowner, and I would vote against replacing those trees. There is a little bit of a twist to this based on allegedly there was some communication from the city that the city would maintain those trees, and I think that needs to be explored and researched a little more yet. But at this point in time, I would vote not to have the city replace them. I don't think the city wants to get into maintaining private people's trees.
Thank you. Nikki McNeely, same question.
Yes, I have sat through the city council meetings that when they did come in to discuss the trees. I think the main issue was a miscommunication. A lot of factors played the role. I think each tree needs to be looked at specifically and a decision made on each tree. But from the information that I had heard at the last council meeting, I would say no, not to replace the trees. Because then you get into a precedence as do you start replacing everybody else's trees that weren't watered or fell over in a storm.
Jerry Thomas, same question.
I guess I wasn't up to date on this particular issue, generally up to date on most of the issues. On this one, as far as the trees, I'd have to agree that I don't think it's up to the city to replace the homeowner's trees. Because the city has no way of knowing whether the trees have been taken care of properly, what's been done to them. We get into a lot of cost issues there that the city doesn't have to bear. So I would not think I want to get into that situation of replacing those trees.
Eric Boder, you're next.
Yeah, we've had several council meetings, I think even maybe 1 or 2 work sessions on this. Right now, could go either way, to be honest. I think that it seems like it should be a very non-complicated issue, but it's not. We have a developer that was there who then went bankrupt, or whatever the case was. It was then given to another developer. The council allowed a tree from the 2 you're supposed to have, one putting it into the right of way. And I think at this point we need the city administrator has come up with some policies as to boulevard trees. We need to decide how much responsibility the city's going to have for those boulevard trees, and are we going to enact that now or into the future? I think that we can come up with a workable, solved problem between all of us. I think looking at the trees individually, but as of right now, I'm not really sure. It is a complicated process, so we're just going to have to talk through.
Krista, you're next.
Yes, I'm aware of the tree issue going on in Fieldstone. Everyone's kind of said some of the background relating to it, and it is a complicated issue. At this time, I would vote no, not to replace the trees, and then write an ordinance relating to future if it would happen again.
Then I have a few specific questions. Then we'll go back to some more all ones where everybody can be involved. But Ken, we have a specific question for you. And it actually asks, can you be specific about how the budget has increased 25% and what areas have increased, is what the question is. Can you be specific about how the budget's increased 25% that you had talked about previously and what areas have increased?
If you look at the last 2 years, it increased 11% from 2012 to 2013, and then 14% from 2013 to 2014. That is without looking at any debt load that the city has right now. Look on the spreadsheet. It's right there on the spreadsheet. I looked it up again today on the city website. Go to the budget, and you'll see increases every year, double-digit increases.
Okay, and what areas have increased?
I haven't looked at it that close.
Okay.
As far as which areas increased the most. I'm just saying generally, the general budget has increased 11% and then 14% in the last 2 years.
Okay. Next question is specifically for Eric Boder. You mentioned you got involved instead of complaining about things. Is there a specific issue you'd like to see addressed?
No, like I said, working towards a clarity in the government to hopefully lower the tax when we can. It's being intellectually honest here. We do run a government. We do need to spend money, but I would like to see that money being spent on core services like I talked about, the public works, the infrastructure, the public safety, maintaining what we have.
Okay. This next one specifically is for candidate McNeely. In the paper, you mentioned that you would support cuts to unnecessary services and support core services. Number one, would you please tell me the top 2 unnecessary services that you would cut? And there's a follow-up question too. Would you please tell me the top 2 services you consider core services, not including parks and trails? So we'll just take the first one. And I'll go through it one more time, okay? So in the paper, you mentioned that you would support cuts to unnecessary services and support core services. So the first one was cuts to unnecessary services and support core services. So would you please tell me, this is the person answering the question, not me, but please tell me the top 2 unnecessary services that you would cut.
You know, that was more of a generic statement. I think when you're looking at the budgets, you're looking at a balance. You know, what's your wants and your needs. I didn't have anything specific in that statement, so I don't really, you have to look again at the big picture. But I would always support public safety, you know, making sure the fire department, police presence, you know, some of those core things. I don't think trails and parks are necessarily a core service. That's not providing safety to the public. But that basic infrastructure that you need if you didn't have anything else in the world.
Okay, and then, so you had a minute for that one. I'll give you another minute to answer the second part of it. Would you please tell me the top 2 services that you consider core services, and not including Parks and Recs, and you've already taken that out of there. So what do you consider core services then?
Well, what I said about public safety, like,
Okay.
you know, the fire department, the sheriff's department, having the city cop.
Okay.
Those would be the 2 core.
We're going to go back to everybody now. So all of you think about, do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and other community ed ball teams bring revenue to the town that have adequate ball parks? So let me rephrase that. Do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and other community ed ball teams bring revenue to the towns that have adequate ball parks? We'll start at the end with Ken Olson.
I happen to know, because I'm an LHS delegate, that the town team would prefer playing all their games at Lutheran High compared to the ballpark. Because Lutheran High has better facilities. I don't know what the reason is. But if Lutheran High has the facilities for, you know, playing baseball, I would think that any improvements to the regular ballpark is just a duplication of what we already have at Lutheran High.
Okay. Dan Luth, do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and other community ed ball teams bring revenue to the towns that have adequate ballparks?
Yes and no. I think when you have tournaments, things like that, if you have hotels, restaurants, things like that, where people are going to come to your town, they're going to stay in your hotel, eat at your restaurants, do things like that, it's going to bring a lot of revenue to your town. Unfortunately, in Mayer, we're limited. We don't have any hotel. We don't have a lot of restaurants. I mean, we got a couple of bars and a gas station. Is it going to bring some revenue? Yes. Is it going to be a substantial amount of revenue to town? No. Other towns, it's going to be totally different ball game because it's a different town than us, because it has those services that we don't currently have here.
Thank you. Jerry Thomas, do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and other community ed ball teams bring revenue to the towns that have adequate ball fields?
They probably bring some revenue. If we had a Dairy Queen here, they bring a lot more revenue. I've tried to get into an over Dairy Queen after taking some pictures at their events, and I can't get in. So, yes, with the right businesses here, yes, they will bring revenue. Dairy Queen, McDonald's, something that are kid-friendly, family-friendly, they will probably bring revenue. As it is right now, probably not as much.
Thank you.
I'm sure Smitty's does garner some revenue because people stop there for a snack or something like that on the way out of town.
Thank you. Nikki McNeely, do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and community ed ball teams bring revenue to the towns that have adequate fields?
Of course they would. I mean, you're bringing people into your town, but Mayor's I just don't feel doesn't, like everybody's saying, it doesn't have those services that manifest to have that. And I agree that it's just like shared services. We share the services with the sheriff's department to cut down the costs. I mean, if we have an adequate ball field in this town, in the city of Mayor, why not continue to use that instead of spending taxpayer dollars on something that we already have?
Great, thank you. Eric BODER, do you think that softball leagues, little leagues, and community ball teams bring revenue to the towns that have adequate fields?
Of course they do, and I think that we can always work on improving the fields that we have. It sounds, at one of the last council meetings, some of the members of the baseball club came and said that they were playing ball up at LHS, which is great. Partnering with them is perfect. That being said, do I buy into the build it and they will come theory? Absolutely not.
Okay, KRISTA Goodell.
I think it depends on who you're trying to cater the fields to. I think we have a variety of ages that use our fields, whether it be softball fields or we've recently added soccer fields. We have a skating rink, and they might not be the best, but it gets people out there and it's a start. So I think it does bring people to town. Probably not a huge revenue builder, but it gets them introduced to the town, lets them see what we have, and hopefully they come back.
All right, this question's for all of you again. What are your expectations of Public Works, starting with KRISTA Goodell?
I think our Public Works does a great job. We have one Public Works person, so he does a lot for, like I said, for one person. There's seasonal people that also help out. Being a small town, I think we need to support him in any way that we can, and have the best services. Same thing with our city staff, that they're very knowledgeable, so if you call, they're able to answer questions, and we have good employees.
Eric BODER, same question. What are your expectations of Public Works?
I'd be beating a dead horse. Absolutely. Kyle was a very good addition to the city. He's very knowledgeable. He's very responsive to the needs of the city. He is on top of some of the issues that we have had, has come up with snow plowing plans, for one thing. Working on when the snow plows need to be called out. He's on top of it, absolutely. I would just say keep doing what you're doing. Don't be afraid of the city council, and just keep it up. You're doing a good job.
Nikki McNeely, same question. What are your expectations for Public Works?
You too, Luann.
You know, I have to agree with what KRISTA and Eric said. I know that last year Kyle wasn't part of Public Works, but snow removal was an issue last year, and I know that they are making changes for this year. But another thing is, because we live in a small community, a lot of us know each other, and there's a lot of resources out there. You know, my husband does snow removal, so if you're not sure about a certain thing, you know, reach out to people and ask different questions, or you know, be open to suggestions. You know, he's been plowing for, I don't know, 7-8 years commercially, so I mean, it's just those kind of things, is utilize also the community members.
Thank you. Jerry Thomas, what are your expectations of Public Works?
I've met Kyle a couple of times and been just pleased with the person I've met. My expectations are Public Works are the face of the city, and Public Works needs to be smiling, be helping people, helping residents, making sure the city is running properly. Between him and Luann and Lewis, they know more about the city than the rest of us do, so we need to rely on them and really get the work done.
Ken Olson, what are your expectations of Public Works?
Not to get stuck when I go out of town to get to work. And and so far I haven't been stuck. You know, that's you know, being able to get through town safely, and I have an interesting story. Last year, I was in St. Bonnie, and a woman was struggling to get up the hill by the library, and it took like 5 people, and we pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally got her on her way. And the one of the town residents says, "Oh, this city is, St. Bonnie is terrible for ice and snow removal." Well, I can't say that about Mayor, because I haven't been stuck, and I think they're doing a good job.
Dan Luth, what are your expectations of Public Works?
I suspect I know where this question came from. Work long hours for minimum wage, right? No, just kidding. So, I think the number one thing that I expect from Public Works, from the actual Public Works employee, is great communication. He needs to relay his concerns and whatnot through to the city administrator and on to the city council, so the city council can in turn support him and what he needs to do. The expectations, I think, is do the things that you're basically mandated to do, you know, the reports for water and wastewater, things like that, and then make sure we're a bedroom community. Snow plowing is a priority, kind of prioritizes the day to get those things done, and the one expectation I see is based on the growth of the town, the more and more demands on Public Works, we really as a council need to start addressing the growth of the Public Works Department. Do we need to add more part-time temporary staff? Do we need a second full-time person? Let's start planning for what we need to do to grow that department to adequately keep the city where we need to be.
Thank you. This one's just...
I'm going to break the rules for a second.
Yep. Go ahead.
I think that a lot of people don't understand what the city staff deals with, and they get some bad blood sometimes from people. And the city wouldn't be what it is without Lois, Luann, and Kyle. We had some flooding issues this last summer, and before the fire department got called out, Luann was one of the first people out there filling sandbags, along with the mayor and myself. These city staff is what makes the city. Thank you.
This is for the council, council people only that are running for council. Why do you want to be on the council? Ken, we're going to start with you on the end. Why do you want to be on the council, Ken? Yeah, 1 minute.
1 minute to why I want to be on the city council. Because I have seen good government and bad government, and I want to be a person that would contribute, like I have at the Zion Board of School Ministry and 4-H shooting sports. I would rather be a participant instead of sitting along on the sidelines.
Nikki McNeely, why do you want to be on the council?
You know, I enjoy working with people. I'm a people person. I like to be involved. You know, I'm pretty active in other areas at work, making sure things are going smoothly, voicing my opinion, and then listening. I want to be able to listen and hear what the concerns are. So I just enjoy this type of atmosphere.
KRISTA Goodell, why do you want to be on the council?
Like everybody else that's up here, I'm passionate about the city, want to see it continue to move forward. I have the experience based on the previous commissions that I've been on, and just kind of ready to take the next step. Being on the commission, you do a lot of back-end history, but never get to make any decisions, so ready to make some decisions. My personality is I'm honest, which I think is a trait that everyone should have, but especially people who are in government. I'm organized, I come with a lot of papers and shuffle them around and have binders of things. I'm dedicated, I follow through on commitments. I'm not scared of most things except spiders and snakes.
And that ain't what it takes to love me.
Like I said, I'm just ready to move forward.
All right, and finally, Eric BODER, why do you want to be in the council?
I want to continue to be on the council for many reasons. One of them is I believe that I have the experience, the education, to keep the city moving forward. I've been lucky to serve this last 4 years. I think that we are solving some of the minor issues that the city has. We're able to continue pushing forward. I think that I'm somebody that's able to communicate. I'm a problem solver at work all day long, and I think I can help here Monday night.
Great. This question's for everybody. We'll start with Dan Luth. How long have you resided in Mayor? If you previously stated, just say it for the record. How long have you resided in Mayor?
Approximately 9 years.
Jerry Thomas?
44 years.
Eric BODER?
Going on our 10th year.
KRISTA GOEDEL?
9 years.
NIKKI McNeely?
Just over 10 years.
And Ken Olson?
13 years.
13 years, all right. This is for everybody. We're in the home stretch. Just to let you know, we're in the home stretch. Dan Luth, how would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them? So how would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them?
Obviously, I would support them. I guess that's a no-brainer question. I think the number one thing we can do to support the businesses is not tax them out of Mayor by maintaining a fiscal responsibility so we can maintain a level or lower tax rate, so that way they're choose to come here versus going to the next town or whatnot. We can support them. We already did a lot of things we can do to support them. We have great high-speed internet in the area. We have water and sewer capacity. We're close to highway systems, things like that. I think one example of supporting Mayor Lutheran High is essentially the biggest business we have in town. We partnered with them. I got a grant from the state. So the city of Mayor is putting in a roundabout that Mayor Lutheran High wanted at a minimal cost to the city. When you look at the whole cost of the project, that meets the city's long-term transportation plans, and it's supporting the biggest business we have in town right now.
Jerry Thomas, how would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them?
Get new businesses to Mayor. I think you've got an Economic Development Authority that's been working on that. It's a matter of, like Dan says, is to work on ways to keep the taxes down or to somehow get some incentives out to get someone to put a business in here. It was not an easy task the first time around. It probably won't be an easy task now. Would I support it? Yeah, if it's something I like to eat, yes, I'll definitely support it. if it's a need I have, yes, I'll support as much as possible. I try and do as much, a lot of things right here in town that I can right now. And so we'll try and continue that. And how do you get the businesses here? It takes some work. It takes the right, we were talking before the meeting about some ideas as to helping with some upfront money, stuff like that, some ways to get people to look at us a little more seriously.
Eric BODER, same question. How would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them?
The two biggest things, obviously, is a favorable tax climate, and then on top of that, a favorable administrative climate to allow building to come here, businesses to come here. If you're bogged down with ordinances and requirements making it hard for business to come, they just can't. Taxes, of course, you're going to support whatever we can to bring here. Being on the EDA, that's something we kind of at times struggle with every time we meet. We offer incentives to get people to move here and build houses or to bring businesses here, and unfortunately we're just not seeing much interest. So it's a matter of continuing to support the EDA, continuing to support our current business base, and work on that lower tax climate, and then, like I said, administrative climate as well is very important.
KRISTA GOEDEL, why or how would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them?
Yes, I would support new businesses. I have not had the opportunity to serve on the EDA. The other commissions I have, so not as aware of EDA. But I do support the mission statement of the city, which is to welcome new businesses and residents and provide the resources for growth. I think as a resident, you need to try the new things in town, and you're the best supporter of it by saying what you think. So whether it be the gas station, they have the best gas in town, so go there and get it.
Coffee shop.
NIKKI McNeilly, same question. How would you support or promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them? How would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor?
Of course, I'd support new businesses. As a small business owner, it just makes it, you understand that you need to, by purchasing or supporting other local businesses, it's just so important. I think we need to think outside the box. You know, what kind of ways, I mean, we had the groomer, we also had a salon, but what can we do as a city? We can improve the communication, what KRISTA was talking about, and start getting creative and getting that word out to the residents, since they only, you know, they're not here that, you know, during the day. How do you get them there in the evening? How do you get them to know that these services and these businesses are available to them? It's just getting creative.
Ken Olson, how would you promote new businesses to come to Mayor, and would you support them?
Get out of their way and let them bring their ideas to Mayor, not to have nitpicky ordinances or new laws that come up or something like that, or anything like that. I, of course, have a history of supporting small business. I was one of Uncle Ron's best customers, wasn't I, Tice? That is true. I love my meat, and I always made sure I bought at Uncle Ron's, you know. So I would say I would support any business that came to town with all my heart, especially if they had a script program through church, at school. You know, that was a big thing there too. But and just stay out of their way.
Okay. This question's for all of you. And this is a question from the audience, remember. If I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me? Ken Olson. If I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
That's a wide open question now, isn't it? How would I handle a unique problem? A unique problem, you have to be a little more specific. What kind of unique problem would you possibly have?
It's just the question. I'm just repeating the question from the audience. If I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
I would listen to you, show you some empathy, and try to give you the best ideas my little brain could come up with at the time. That's all I got.
Okay, Dan Booth, same question. If I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
Number one is listen and research the problem a little bit. I think Ms. Boyd in the audience here, I actually stopped by to look at the chickens when that was kind of a unique problem and kind of research that issue. From there, I'm one of 5. Alone, I have 0 power on the city council to do anything. So from there, once the problem has been brought forward, it needs to go to the city staff. We have great city staff, Lois and Luann. It's their job then to research the issues, to look into it and bring it to the council. And then from there, we need a majority to decide how to address the problem. So communication is the best, using city staff, utilizing their resources, and then the full council.
Jerry Thomas, if I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
Find out what the problem is, or get to your interpretation of the problem. That once in a while is interesting. Then I involve Luann and Lois and get some more information and verify information once again, because things tend to change over time. And then get the council involved to make sure the council is fully involved, fully informed, and go from there to make a decision. It would not be my decision, it would be a council decision.
Nikki, you're next. How would you, if I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
I mean, you know, every situation is different. You have to look at the whole picture. You need to research it, get the people that should be involved, and then bring it back into the group to vote or help make that unique situation, get that resolved. So it's a, you know, case-by-case basis, and you just, as a council member, you don't know who is going to come to the council meeting, and it's just something that it's part of the job.
Eric BODER, if I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
Pretty big question, but generally, we deal with problems kind of every day, kind of in the problem-solving business, it seems like. But, you know, you need to identify what your problem is, define your problem, figure out what your challenges are to success for solving that problem, researching what's going to work best. And personally, what I usually try to do is you find the best answer for the greatest amount of people that are involved. It's all about making sure that everybody involved is connected, they know what the problem is, you know what your issues are, and then try to solve it based upon the good and the best interest of the group, not necessarily just the one.
KRISTA Goodell, if I had a unique problem, how would you handle it for me?
I think I'd first need to understand what the problem is, be able to ask questions, and determine if there is a cause, work with other members of the council, find additional resources if needed, and come up with a possible solution that works for everyone.
Okay, this question again is for all of you. Should the city invest money in park amenities? And what do you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity? Dan Luth, we'll start with you. So should the city invest money in park amenities? And what do you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity?
Absolutely, within reason. The city shouldn't just go blow millions of dollars on something in the parks, but that providing parks for our children and actually even our adults is one of those core services that a government should do. I see personally the most pressing thing right now is we don't have anywhere in town that if I want to have a picnic with my family, a family reunion, something like that. We have the community center in the winter, but in the summer you want to be outside where you can have the kids run around and play, have a family reunion, have an anniversary party. So some sort of structure, a pavilion, gazebo, things like that. And in with that, there's been talk with the last 2 years that might be a good time to explore adding restrooms to a park then in conjunction with something like that.
Jerry Thomas, should the city invest money in park amenities, and what would you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity?
Well, seeing how the parks, how much the parks are being used, yes, you need to keep the parks in good condition and invest in amenities as they're needed. When I look back to what the parks were when I started as mayor the first time, what they are now, 10,000% improvement. It's huge. And they're wonderful parks. They've got some wonderful amenities. First thing that came to mind when Dan asked the question is a pavilion type structure of some sort for family picnics and that you can do it like that. We used to have the hamburger stand underneath the ball part underneath the water tower, the old water tower. That's long gone too. But that served a purpose like that. Okay, some sort of a pavilion structure that you could have a family gathering, a family picnic. That would work for that.
Eric BODER, same question. Should the city invest money in park amenities, and what do you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity?
Well, like I said earlier, I think that we just need to focus on the upkeep of the parks that we have. During one of the discussions about bathrooms, one of the many discussions of bathrooms that we've had here, Dan did bring up the possibility of a pavilion type structure where bathrooms could be added either now or down the road. That really did resonate with me. They did kind of identify possibly the Public Works shed as something like that that might easily be converted to that kind of use. I think I would be in support of something like that. I think that would be a very good addition, smart addition to the city's park amenities.
KRISTA, should the city invest money in park amenities, and what do you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity?
The parks are something that I think a lot of the residents use, and also people come from outside the city to use our parks. I think they need to be well maintained. Being on the park board, we do have a plan of what goes into every park. We plan out 5 years, which means that's what we budget for, and we ask the city council for that money. I think we need to be responsible on what we ask for, and if we ask for something big, we need to plan ahead and cut back in other years. Sometimes it's not always visible what goes on in the parks. You know, we might notice all the trees we planted, but other people might not. They might only notice them when they die. So to update people on what goes on every year in the parks, to update them on the goals. I agree, the bigger things is what gets noticed. I would like to add handicapped accessibility to some of the parks, and then add from there. Restrooms are always a nice thing. Nobody likes mini biffs. So.
All right, NIKKI McNeely, same question. Should the city invest money in park amenities, and what do you see as the most needed park improvement / amenity?
I think just maintaining is the most important right now. Again, we have to look into the future as well. So if I was to answer the question now, it'd be maintaining, making sure that there's no weeds and that there's enough mulch. It's the right type of mulch. Making sure that the equipment's still working, if there's any graffiti or destruction to the equipment, that it's maintained. But I think I agree, we need a place that people can come to and use as a family, so that we have people staying in town more often.
And finally, Ken, should the city invest money in park amenities, and what do you see as the most needed park improvement or amenity?
The city should, within reason, invest money in parks, and I touched on this before. Shooting sports is the fastest growing high school sport currently, and I think we should have like a 3-lane archery range set up somewhere in town, because people do ask. They've talked to me about it as far as it wouldn't cost that much to do, just like 3-4 hay bales on each range and then pace off 40 yards, and you could do that for a very reasonable amount of money. I would think you just have to find the space to do it, and I think we do have the space to do it. That was one idea I just came up with in the last couple of weeks, talking to people at around town and at one of my employers.
Okay. We'll start with Ken, working our way back. This is an all question. Tell us how you currently serve the city of Mayer.
How do I don't really serve the city of Mayer. I'm too busy being a delegate at Lutheran High. I just finished a comprehensive audit of Zion Lutheran Church. I was on the financial review board there, and I'm a taxpayer. So, as we all are.
NIKKI McNeely, how do you currently serve?
Right now, I do help with the Mayor Fire Auxiliary. My husband is on the fire department. So that is one thing that I do, and we do 2 fundraisers a year, so making baked goods and helping run that. And then I try to get involved with activities and support other places or people around the city.
KRISTA Goodell, how do you currently serve the city of Mayer?
For the past 7 years, I've been on 2 commissions, park and planning. I've also participated in the Mayor Moxie program, which is run through our park commission for the last 3 years. Completed my first 5K through the Mayor Moxie, possibly my last 5K. I'm also secretary for Mayor Rising Community Festival and actively participate in that for the last 4 years. So my main role for the Mayor Rising Community Festival is the craft fair, so I get the indoor air conditioning. And I help out wherever else is needed, supporting the businesses.
ERICK, how do you currently serve the city of Mayer?
Well, I am your current elected city council member in my 4th year here. I'm an active member of the Mayer Fire Department as an emergency medical technician and obviously a firefighter. I'm on the Carver County Hazmat group and am the safety officer for that group. I've served on the EDA for the last 6 years. I've served on the Rising Community Festival and just kind of help out in the neighborhood and help out where I can.
GERRY, how do you currently serve the city of Mayer?
Currently, I'm a proud taxpayer. And I say that with a certain amount of seriousness because I believe in what we got here. I think I'm happy. I'm happy to pay the taxes I pay because we've got a good city. Previously, fire department, city council, planning commission, mayor, fire department. 20 years in the fire department, 12 years as mayor, 5 years as city council. So I've been involved for a long time.
Okay. Dan? How do you currently?
Well, taking this question last, as I can say thank you to all them for their service. So I'm currently on the city council in my 4th year, so I'm serving in that respect. Additionally, I pay my taxes on time every time, and that supports the services of the city. And then I am currently on I requested a temporary leave of absence from the fire department, but I do have over 8 years of service on the fire department, including as an emergency medical technician.
Great, thank you. Closing, speaking, I guess, closing, what do I want to call it? Closing remarks, I guess is the word I was looking for. So you have up to 3 minutes for closing remarks. At this portion, we are done with the questions at this point. So your closing remarks, we'll start with Eric.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody that had voted for me. It has been a good 4 years. I've learned a lot about city government. I've spent a lot of time reading a lot of stormwater sewer. You know, stormwater plans are about this thick that, yeah, I tell you, I know more about stormwater than I ever think I wanted to. But no, I've learned a lot. If you re-elect me, I will continue to be your voice at the city council and at all levels of government. Continue to work towards clarity in our government, clarity in our budget, continue to support our city staff. Focus on those core city functions, the public works department, utilities, the fire department, public safety, and the parks. I'll just be your voice. I'm here for you. You're always available. And people call me sometimes late at night, but if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know, and please re-elect Eric Boder.
Great. KRISTA Goodell, your closing remarks.
I think you can see that we're all passionate to serve on the city council or as the mayor. It is an elected position, so I hope that everyone does come out and vote. I would like you to vote for me, though. So. Although I would like to keep the taxes as low as possible, I know that's not always something that's going to happen. So if we can't make the taxes lower, I do want to make the services the best that they are. Continue to have good staff that we work with. Be transparent with the budget, know where money's coming in and money's going out. And as your city council person, I will be dedicated and loyal to the city.
NIKKI McNeely, your final remarks.
You know, as a small business owner, it's just so important to be involved with the community that you live with, and I'm just excited to have another adventure because city council it's something new for me, but at the same time, I love an adventure. I love a challenge or something different, and you know, I live here. I chose to live here when I was looking at places. I could have picked anywhere to live. I chose to live in Mayer. I chose to live on Ridge Road so I could have big, mature trees. And I could buy a bigger house for less money than closer to where I grew up. So I've been here 10 years. Don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And I just love being able to go walk around the neighborhoods and stop and talk with lots of different people.
Ken Olson, your final remarks.
Actually, when I was living in Shakopee, and I was talking to my wife on a Saturday morning, and I remember this day because it hit me like a bolt of lightning. We're going to move to Mayer. And her mouth just dropped. Why? And I said, because I want Kirsten, we only had Kirsten at the time, to go to a parochial school and to be able to walk to Lutheran High. I can drive anywhere for a job, but a kid can't drive to somewhere or have to take a bus. So when I got to Mayer here, and I was surprised that how much the wife and I took to it. Meat market that would let you write an invoice, and in case you forgot your checkbook. Something that would you wouldn't see in a bigger town. So we've grown to love this living in Mayer, and we're going to stay here until we got cemetery plots up on the Zion Cemetery Hill.
Dan, LUETH, final thoughts.
First, I want to thank everybody that came here tonight for coming here. It's probably not the most exciting Thursday night to listen to 6 politician wannabes talk about their ideas, so The Voice or something is probably on tonight. That might be a little more entertaining. Also want to thank city staff and our great moderator here for putting this on tonight. So, a few things I just wanted to say in closing is, one is it's been an enjoyable 4 years on the city council. I've learned a lot. People might not always agree with the votes I have, but I can honestly say everything I voted has been to try to put the city's interest for the best for everybody in the city. The thing I said 4 years ago, and I was here in the same debate, is I've traveled pretty extensively at the same number of states back then as now. I've been in 49. I need to get to New Mexico to get to all 50 states, but having been all over, there's fun places to go visit, but there is no place in America than this area here where I'd rather live and raise a family. I have not yet found it. Might exist, but I don't know where. And then finally, I would just want to ask people to really think about your votes, think about who you want to vote for, who you think is going to best represent you. To be quite honest, I was torn whether I was going to run for re-election or not, and I felt that I was called to do it a little bit. There was a large number of people that approached me and said, we need you on the city council again. They said, it was what we've seen since you've been on the city council. And it's not just me, but we have a great diversity of opinions on there. We sometimes, I feel, leave meetings and I might be mad at Eric or upset with Tice or whatnot, but they all are great people. They have nothing but the city's best interest at heart. I think we all want what's best for the city of Mayor, and I love working with them, and I felt that after talking with people, I was called to run again and to put 2 more years in to try to make this and continue to make this a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Thomas, your final remarks.
First of all, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. As I said before, I think we've got a great quality of life. I enjoy Mayor. Being here for 44 years, I think it's grown on me in more ways than one. Why do I want to do this? I've got the time. Even though I'm semi-retired, we are not in a position of looking at being snowbirds, so don't think I'm going to be going away in January, February, March, and missing meetings. We've got 2 grandkids that are very, very, very much involved in sports at LHS, and I love going to see their games. So that's not going to be happening, not soon. I've got the experience of having gone through the first 12 years and everything that took place. Those were some tumultuous years. I think Luann will attest to that. Lois will attest to it too. There were some long, long meetings there. And I gained a lot from that. I gained a lot of experience from it. I learned a lot from it. And I think I can draw on that as we go forward. And finally, as I said before, I like to be involved. I like to serve the city, and I just felt it's time to get back and being involved. So hopefully you'll take that to the polls on Tuesday the 4th. So thank you.
Well, as our tonight's monitor, Scott Wakefield, I'd like to thank you, all the citizens, for coming out tonight and getting great questions to our candidates. I want to thank the candidates for taking the time of their evening to come out and be part of our candidate forum. And you can stick around. We've got a little coffee. We've got a little cookies left over. But I want to thank you very much. And that concludes our candidate forum for the City Council and Mayor. I want to remind you about our Sheriff's Candidate Forum next Tuesday night, starting at 6 o'clock with the meet and greet. And we'll have the commissioners also here that night. So I want to encourage you to do that. So thank you very much. And we should give the candidates all a round of applause. And thank you for coming.